Now, something that we have to know about each clef. Now, we have to, obviously we have to know the kind of clef it is, because if we know what's the letter name of this treble clef, we also call it what? G clef. It tells us that G is right here. We have to know that, don't we? Because that's what establishes the first note of that clef, and then we know the rest of the notes are going to follow the musical alphabet. What's the letter name for the bass clef? F. And that establishes that the fourth line is F. Okay, so we put the two dots there, and then the line in between there, that's F. The other thing we have to know about each clef, we have to know where middle C is. Okay, and the reason we have to know that is because it tells us what octave the other notes are in. So middle C in bass clef is right here. This one ledger line above the staff is middle C. In treble clef, middle C is right there. So here's middle C in bass clef, middle C in treble clef. So in other words, this is the same note, isn't it? So what does that tell you in bass clef if middle C is right there? What does it tell you about the rest of the notes in bass, the notes on the staff in bass clef? What does it tell you, Sylvester? They're below middle C, right? And here's middle C in treble clef, so what does it tell you about the notes in treble clef? They're above middle C. So the instruments or people reading bass clef are going to be probably playing lower than the instruments and folks singing in treble clef, right? So what instruments play in bass clef? Tuba, baritone, what? Cello, double bass, right? The lower instruments. Who sings in bass clef? Basses, tenors, right? Treble clef. What instruments play in? Flute. Not all woodwinds. Flute, violin, guitar, trumpet, right? So we could see that that's why we use these different clefs, because otherwise, we might have a lot of ledger lines, if we just use one clef. So we have different clefs to help us write music to keep us in the staff, because it's a lot easier to read. But know that this is the same note, isn't it? So if I see that note in bass clef, there's middle C, I'm going to play this key right here. Remember I told you if you found the two black keys right by the name of the piano and you went down to the white key just below it, that would be middle C. So if I see that note in the one ledger line above the staff in bass clef, I'm going to play that note. If I see the note one ledger line below the staff in treble clef, I'm going to play same note. Middle C.